Good evening, everyone. We're going to do it a little bit differently tonight. Usually we do a gospel reading, and then usually Yogananda's commentary on the gospel reading. It's a long reading tonight. I'm really just going to go through it during the talk. It's Yogananda's story of when Lahiri Mahasaya, who was his guru's guru, met his guru, Babaji. But I'd like to start with a prayer. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, our Sadguru, Mahavatar Yogananda, we pray that you send and breathe the Great Spirit, the Holy Spirit, upon us tonight, that we might be infused with divine life and divine love and divine grace. That our lives might be elevated into the divine life, not to escape this life, but to bring the divine life to everyone and every aspect of our lives. May we be your peaceful presence. May we be your peaceful presence in a world that is desperately in need of peace. Amen. So again, the theme tonight, part 2 from last week, is the guru. And let me just start with a concept that I shared last week as a way of maybe understanding what we mean by guru. If you're familiar with the 12-step program, 12 steps of AA, for example, there's this understanding, a way of talking about God as a higher power. And people in the AA program, for example, say that when they get in touch with this higher power, that it is literally a force of love and energy and intelligence, and it is so empowering them that it lifts them above their addiction and allows them to be sober. And of course, many people refer to the higher power as God. So what is a guru? A guru is not an ordinary teacher. A guru is not somebody who gives inspiring talks. And most often a guru is not somebody that writes bestsellers. A guru, the way we teach it here at the Assisi Institute, is someone that is so surrendered to the divine, so given over to God, that they come as the embodiment of the divine power. They have so given themselves in love to God that they become the presence of God on planet Earth. They are transparent to the divine. And when we are in their presence, we too are lifted up. There's a concept from science that's very interesting, and it relates closely to this whole idea of a guru. It's called sympathetic resonance. And let me give you an example of sympathetic resonance. During the Second World War, they had barracks for female soldiers and women soldiers. And what they found was that over a period of time, every barrack always had an alpha female. And over a period of time, all the women's period coalesced and was aligned with this alpha female. They all had the same number of days of their period, their cycle. That's sympathetic resonance. Whenever we are in the presence of an energy, a force, a vibration, a power that is stronger than us, to the degree that we are open to it, we begin to resonate with it. That's sympathetic resonance. And how that applies to the guru, and again, the guru doesn't have to be in the body. Jesus is not in the body, but he's very present to planet Earth. Yogananda is not in the body. He is very present to his devotees. And to the degree that we nurture our connection with the guru, this sympathetic resonance kicks in, and we begin to be taken up into their consciousness, into their grace, and into their energy, and the divine life that flows through them flows through us. That's an aspect of the guru-disciple relationship. So what I want to walk us through is the story from the Autobiography of Yogi when Lahiri Mahasaya met his guru, Babaji. I think it's the 5th commandment of the 10 commandments. It says to honor your mother and father. There's lots of levels to that commandment. But one level to the commandment that is relevant to this discussion about gurus is to honor your mother and father is to honor the traditions that they have passed on to you. There's a spiritual tradition that's being passed on to us in this story. It is really the blueprint for the guru-disciple relationship. It embodies it perfectly, whether you're Hindu, Christian, Jewish, doesn't make a difference. What we see in this story is the perfect relationship between the guru and the disciple, how it unfolds, and how we develop that relationship, that sympathetic resonance. We can say it this way. We're really meant to live as gods. Not capital G, but small g. We're meant to live as gods. By developing this sympathetic relationship with the guru, by entering into their consciousness, we're taught how to live as gods, here and now in creation. So let me start with the story. I got to give you a little bit of background. One of the things I love about Lahiri Mahasaya is that he wasn't a swami, he wasn't a celibate, he was married. It gives somebody like me hope who's married. Growing up Catholic, I always thought that there was some way to be in union with God, but in order to get there, you had to join a monastery. Right? Lahiri says, no, we don't have to join a monastery. He's in his late 20s in this story, and he worked for the government in India under the British rule. And he got transferred from one place to another. And his family hadn't come with him yet, and so one Sunday or Saturday afternoon, he's hiking through the mountains, the Himalayan mountains where he was stationed, called to by work. That's the background of the story. Now this is the Lahiri Mahasaya speaking. He's on this hike. I finally reached a small clearing whose sides were dotted with caves. On one of the rocky ledges stood a smiling young man. Now again, he's hiking the mountains by himself, extending his hand in welcome. I noticed with astonishment that except for his copper-colored hair, he bore a remarkable resemblance to myself. So this young man he meets bears a resemblance to himself. The saint addressed me affectionately in Hindi. I want to stop at this time. Two things about what we just read. There's two reasons why people come to earth. Two reasons why we reincarnate. One reason is we want to play with all the toys. One life, we want to be a great athlete. The next life, we want to be a great singer. The next life, we want to make $1 million. We come, some of us, one group comes just to play with the toys of creation. Nothing wrong with that. Many of us in this room spend time playing with toys. And then there's another group of people, when they come to earth, they say, I've had enough of the toys. I want the toy maker. I've played all the roles, I've played all the games. It didn't bring me what I want. In this life, I want God. Heaven hears that prayer. And part of the way that heaven responds to that prayer is heaven sends us a guru. Lahiri came into his lifetime, not wanting the toys, but wanting the Creator. Heaven heard his response, his prayer. And I dare to say that most of you in this room, I don't know what your life was like up until today, but your being here says at some level, that you're kind of tired of the toys and you want the toy maker. Heaven is hearing your response, just as it heard Lahiri's response. The second thing I want to point out from what I read is, with affection, he said Lahiri's name. Go back to the story I love to tell when Francis had Jesus speak to him from the cross of San Damiano. Same things. It's the universal blueprint for the guru-disciple relationship. Francis said, Jesus spoke his name, Francesco, in a tender, affectionate voice. Babaji spoke Lahiri's name in a tender, affectionate voice. So we're not just, the universe isn't just this big impersonal place. The guru knows your name personally. The guru knows your life personally. The guru has heard your prayers, has listened to your suffering, and called you by name with affection and with love. The saint addressed me affectionately in Hindi by name. And the saint said to Lahiri, rest in this cave, it was I who called you. I was I who called you. So Lahiri says, I entered a neat little grotto which contained several woolen blankets and a few begging bowls. And the saint said to Lahiri, Lahiri, do you remember that seat? The yogi pointed to a folded blanket in the corner. Lahiri said, no, sir. Somewhat dazed at the strangeness of my adventure. And then Lahiri says, not knowing what's going on, I must leave now before nightfall. I have business in the morning at my office. Then the mysterious saint spoke to him in English. The office was brought for you and not you for the office. Lahiri said, I was dumbfounded that this forest ascetic should not only speak English, but also paraphrase the words of Christ. And then the saint spoke, his guru. I see my telegraph took effect. The yogi's remark was incomprehensible to me. I inquired his meaning. And the saint said, I refer to the telegram that summoned you to these isolated parts. It was I, his guru, Babaji, who silently suggested to the mind of your superior officer that you should be transferred here. When one feels his unity with mankind, all minds become transmitting stations through which he can work at will. Surely, he said, Lahiri, this cave seems familiar to you. As I maintained in bewildered silence, the saint approached me and struck me gently on the forehead. It's a very important piece here. I want you to get this. It's the universal pattern. Lahiri was just going about his business, doing whatever he had to do. But who was working behind the scenes? Babaji was arranging everything, even whispering to the ears of his superior, transfer Lahiri to this place. What does that mean for us? And I don't want you to take what I'm about to say as a metaphor. I mean it literally. What if God knew at a certain point that you would choose in this life the toy maker over the toys? And so what if God gave you a guru before you knew you had a guru? And just like Babaji arranged the circumstances of Lahiri's life, what if your guru has arranged the circumstances of your life to bring you where you are today? See, we think we make the choices. We have free will, don't misunderstand me. But our free will is responding to the grace of the guru, to the call of the guru, who's responding to the call of our heart for God. I'll give you a story with one of Yogananda's direct disciples. I know this person. He went out to California to be initiated by one of the gurus, one of the swamis of Yogananda's. And he was bemoaning the fact that he had made great mistakes in his life. And Yogananda's guru, Yogananda's Swami, one of Yogananda's monks said to him, how do you know that you didn't have to make every one of those mistakes to be where you are today, surrender to God? And how do you know God wasn't even part of those mistakes? How do you know that the guru wasn't working through the mistakes? What if everything has ever happened to you like the beginning of your happening right now? Einstein said God doesn't play dice with the universe, and the guru doesn't play dice with your life. What if everything you've ever experienced in this lifetime had to be experienced to bring you to this point? If it was true for Lahiri, it's true for us. God doesn't have any stepchildren. We're all his firstborn. We're all his favorite. Every one of us. Well, Lahiri's still not getting it. Lahiri, surely this cave seems familiar to you, as I maintained in bewildered silence. The same approached and struck me gently on the forehead, the third eye. At his magnetic touch, a wondrous current swept through my brain, releasing the sweet seed memories of my previous life. Then Lahiri says, I remember. My voice was half choked with joyous sobs. You are my guru, Babaji, who here in this cave I've spent many years in my last incarnation. And ineffable reflections overwhelmed me, and I tearfully embraced my master's feet. There's so much in that paragraph. Now don't misunderstand me. I push free will a lot. We all have free will. We all have to participate in our spiritual evolution. Absolutely. But none of us get there without the touch of the guru, without the grace. This only all started to come together for Lahiri when Babaji gave him the blessing. He opened his spiritual eye. He allowed Lahiri to see reality. Think about it just on a physical level. We know there are colors in the spectrum that the human eye can't see. They're there, but we don't have the capacity to see them. Well, there's a spiritual spectrum that we can't see in our normal seeing. But to the degree that we align ourselves with the guru, to the degree that we allow the guru to love us and to bless us, they begin, and usually it happens slowly over time for most of us, they open our capacity to see spiritually, and we learn to see more and more and more. The spiritual life begins with the touch and the grace of the guru. And you've been touched or you wouldn't be here tonight. It's a grace, it's a gift. But I wanted to get to there's a subtle piece. Everything about Lahiri's past opened up. He began to understand his past in reference to his present. When the guru begins to work with us and our spiritual awareness begins to open up, we begin to see our past and how it fits in with the present. We begin to see where we came from as it relates to where we are now. And it's not just helpful, it's not just interesting information. God has given each one of us a destiny. God has put a plan, a map inside of each one of us to take us to our highest evolution. And when we begin to open up and the guru begins to work with us, they reawaken that dream that God placed in our heart before the beginning of time. We begin to remember who we really are. We begin to remember what we're really here for. And it's a beautiful plan. It's a glorious plan. It's a wonderful destiny. That's what the relationship with the guru does as we enter into that sympathetic resonance. And then it says that he embraced the feet. I talked about that last night. I'll just spend a little bit of time on that. He became teachable. Okay, you're my teacher, you're my guru. I'm going to be at your feet. Teach me. I'm open. I have a beginner's mind. You want to share a little story. I shared it with you at a committee meeting earlier this evening. I want you to see how real this guru stuff is. Some of you know that this coming October, we're planning a weekend Kriya Yoga conference here in Rochester. Okay? And some of our own people will do speaking, and we've been trying to get some big name speakers. Okay? At least one or two to come outside of the CC Institute. Swamiji is coming, but we wanted to get somebody else. So I had a wonderful Franciscan priest all lined up. It was going to be one of our keynotes. And we worked out the dates, and he called me last weekend, or 2 weekends ago, and he said to me, he said, Craig, I really messed up. I forgot I had to do a wedding. And it's kind of like reverse. I kind of gave him forgiveness and grace, like confession, only reversed. I said, it's not a problem. I'm sure Yogananda's taking care of us. Well, a few days later, I was sitting with somebody in the CC Institute, and I just mentioned we lost our keynote speaker, this Franciscan priest, and this person said to me, well, I just saw this YouTube presentation of this priest who teaches centering prayer, which is a Catholic Christian meditation, and he's one of the founders of it. So why don't you give him a call? So I called him up. Vicki was in the room with me. And at first it was a little stiff, and we got talking more and more. He said, I got the dates open, what do you want me to do? And I told him about who we are. He says, well, it's interesting because, not too long ago I did a presentation at an ashram on the Bhagavad Gita, so I can kind of work with East and West, bring them both together. I said, that's really great. Then we got talking some more, and I said, if you want a reference, you can call Richard Rohr, my Franciscan mentor. He will tell you that I'm not completely crazy. And he said, that's interesting. Richard was just here last week. I said, wow. And he said, do you believe in synchronicity? I said, yes. He says, because last night I viewed Yogananda's film Awake for the first time. Here you are calling me. The Guru's real. They intervene in our life. And he is coming. He's going to speak at our conference. He's going to talk about centering prayer, meditation, and Bhagavad Gita. I want you to get this next part because it's so sweet. This is Babaji talking to Lahiri. For more than 3 decades, I have waited for you. This is Babaji saying this, right, to Lahiri. Your Guru's been waiting for you your whole life. For 3 decades, I have waited for you here, waited for you to return to me. Babaji's voice rang with celestial love. You slipped away, vanished into the tumultuous waves of the life beyond death. The magic wand of your karma touched you and you were gone. Though you lost sight of me, never, never did I lose sight of you. Once we make that decision to go home and God gives us a guru and we embrace that guru stays with us through thick and thin, whether we are the greatest saints, the greatest sinners. They never leave us. They never abandon us. They watch over us like a mother, like a she-bear. We're never without them, ever. Never did I lose sight of you. I pursued you over the luminescent astral sea where the glorious angels sail. Through gloom and storm, upheaval and light, I followed you. This is so beautiful. Like a mother bird guarding her young, as you lived out your human term of womb life, even in the womb, they're with you. And emerged a baby, my eye was ever on you. When you covered your tiny form in the lotus posture under the Nadia sands, he used to meditate as a child, Lahiri, in your childhood, I was invisibly present to you. Let that sink in. It's not just true for him, it's true for us. Wherever we are, the Guru is. When you covered your tiny body in the lotus positions under the Nadia sands in your childhood, I was invisibly present, patiently. Month after month, year after year, I had watched over you, waiting for this perfect day. Now you are with me. Lo, here is your cave, loved of yore. I have kept it ever clean and ready for you. Here is your hallowed asana blanket where you daily sat to fill your expanding heart with God. Behold, there your bowl from which you often drink the nectar prepared by me. See how I have kept the brass cup brightly polished that you might drink again. Oh, my own, now do you understand? This is love. Yogananda says that the deepest and highest expression of love is between the guru and the disciple. This is love. Lahiri responded, my guru, what can I say? Where has one ever heard of such deathless love? I gazed long and ecstatically on my eternal treasure, my guru in life and in death. Babaji said, important point here. Lahiri, you need purification. Drink the oil in this bowl and lie down by the river. The guru loves us unconditionally like a mother. But mothers can show tough love sometimes, don't they? So the guru loves us enough. And at some point in our spiritual journey, this will happen to us. They will take us through a purification process. And we may think that we did something wrong and they stopped loving us. We may feel abandoned. We may not know why the things that are happening to us are happening to us. We can't make sense of them. It's okay. The guru has you back. You are under the guru's wing. They are merely purifying you so that you can take in more light and more love, more strength and more grace and more divinity. They love us enough to purify us. And we don't go through it once. There's always a deeper and deeper level of purification. But never take that you are being abandoned. Take that you are being loved. They will bring us through a purification process. My son, Babaji said, embracing me, your role in this incarnation must be played on an outward stage. In this lifetime, he wasn't going to be a monk or a swami. Prenatally blessed by many lives of lonely meditation, you must now mingle in the world of men. One little lesson for us. Our spiritual realizations are not just for us. We are called to be God's presence in the world and all of our neighbors. A deep purpose underlay the fact that you did not meet me this time until you were already a married man with modest business responsibilities. You must put aside your thoughts of joining our secret band in the Himalayas. Your life lies in the crowded markets, serving as an example of the ideal household yogi householder. The cries of many beloved, bewildered, worldly men and women have not fallen unheard on the ears of the great ones. And by the way, Yogananda says that both Jesus and Babaji work together in unison, sending healing vibrations to the world in this life cycle. You have been chosen to bring spiritual solace through Kriya Yoga to numerous earnest seekers. You. The millions who are encumbered by family ties and heavy worldly duties will take new heart from you, a householder like themselves. You must guide them to see that the highest yogic attainments are not barred to the family person. Even in the world, the yogi who faithfully discharges his responsibilities without personal motive or attachment treads the sure path of enlightenment. So notice what Babaji does in this whole sequence. Okay? He awakens Lahiri to the spiritual path, the vision that was given him in the spiritual path, the calling. He awakens him to it in present. He gives him a trajectory of where his life is to go. Do you see that? He gives them the plan. He gives them the map. He gives his life meaning. He gives his life purpose. He gives his life direction. And Purnima, I wasn't going to pick on you tonight, but can I pick on you tonight? Purnima is our Swami, okay? She's tough. She's even tough on me sometimes. Okay? But she's a wonderful, holy Swami. She heard me speak 10 years ago, 8 years ago at a church in Rochester. 10 years ago, okay? She kind of liked what I had to say. It was the first and last time, but she liked what I had to say that time. So she came to the Assisi Institute. And she kept on coming. She had no idea about being a Swami. She had no idea about giving her life to Yogananda. Nothing. She kept on coming. And one day we said to her, would you like to work here? She said yes. We didn't know what we were getting ourselves into, but she said yes. And then one day we said, would you like to live here? She said yes. And then one day we said, would you like to be a brahmachari? She said yes. And one day we're all in Italy together with the Swami. And the Swami said, I'm paraphrasing now, he said, would you like to be a Swami today? She said yes. When we give ourselves to God and Guru, they give us our future. Not the future that our personality could ever imagine, but the future that God has for us. And it's always a better future than we could ever imagine for ourselves. So I will close with 3 quick points, just to make this as practical as I can. For most of you had as your guru either Jesus or Yogananda, and that's fine. They're both part of the Kriya tradition. One of the blessings that we have is that we have Jesus' words and we have Yogananda's words. Now some people say to me, well, I've studied scripture and I heard what the scripture scholars say. How do we know they're the real words of Jesus? Okay. My best answer? Anybody that has followed them with an open heart becomes a Mother Teresa, becomes a Pope Francis, becomes a Francis of Assisi. That's how one we know they're the real words of Jesus. And I've spent time in Yogananda, visited Yogananda's mother center in LA. I met the monks, some of the monks and nuns that knew him personally. They follow the words of Yogananda. When I'm with them, I know I'm in the presence of saints. So, on a very practical level, I'm encouraging you, strongly recommending and urging you, every day, take the words of Jesus and or Yogananda and read them. Don't read them and analyze them, with your logical brain. Underneath their words is their consciousness. And by tuning in prayerfully and silently to their words, you align yourself with their consciousness, and that sympathetic resonance develops in you. It's there. Pray over their words. It could be just a paragraph a day, but read it. Take it into your soul. It's manna from heaven. Living bread. It will transform your consciousness. Don't take for granted what you have. People wait lifetimes to get some of the gurus that you guys have. Don't take it for granted. Don't take the words for granted. The second thing is, every great guru teacher always builds a community. So one of the other ways that we nurture our conscious contact, our resonance with the guru, is through each other. Many times Yogananda, Jesus speaks to me through you. Sometimes he gives me a little kick in the butt through you. Sometimes he tells me he loves me through you. Sometimes when I can't get there myself, you bring me there. We are called to be Yogananda's beloved community. We are called to be the beloved community of Jesus. We are called to embody their consciousness and their love in our lives, with each other, for each other, and for those that are yet to come. And the paradox is the more we give to the Guru, the more resonance develops, the more we become like them. And I'll just close with this. One of Yogananda's monks that I think was a real saint was Brother Ananda. He died a year or two ago, maybe 2 years ago. And one of the times that Vicky and I were there, another monk who wasn't with Yogananda came after Yogananda died. He was showing us around the grounds, and he was talking about Brother Ananda Moy. And he said, when you're in Brother Ananda Moy's presence, he said, all that I feel is Yogananda emanating from him. So let's tonight commit to each other, to the Guru, and to the world, that we are going to be God's presence to each other. We are going to be channel the Guru to each other. That we are going to be Christ and Yogananda and the Divine Mother to each other. We make that commitment, we practice it. We don't have to be perfect, we just have to be willing to try. Someday people will say about you, God, when I'm in your presence, I feel Jesus, I feel Yogananda, I feel the Gurus, I feel the Divine Mother. That, my friends, is a life